Well, Danny, we're sort of around about 5 weeks out from fight night. Second defence of your Quest Cruiserweight title, but it all changed this week with the withdrawal of your scheduled opponent, Wesley Petrie, ruled out through medical reasons, and in steps a very exciting game and explosive challenger, Danylo Hrebeniuk, who is going to be challenging you for your title. So before we get into that, and before we talk about what's coming up, how your training's been, and everything leading up to this massive fight, first and foremost, how have you been since the big win last time out against Wesley Petrie?
Yeah, I've been good. I know we say it's a big win, but it was tainted a bit just by the fact of the fussy calls saying it was an early stoppage, which I don't believe it was. But we're fighters. We'll always look. So I could wake up in a hospital bed 3 days later, and I'll tell you stopped it too early. But so I haven't really enjoyed it. I've actually just got straight back in the gym, and I was preparing to do the same but worse in the rematch. But obviously that's been taken away from me now, so we've got to concentrate on another opponent.
Yeah, let's quickly touch on the last fight before we move on to this second title defence on the 26th of November, which is taking place at the Epsom Downs Racecourse. Now, I've got to say, I watched the fight from ringside live on the night, and I think the strange thing about that stoppage was that when you look back at the stoppage, you've got him hurt, he's slumped in the corner, the referee Seamus Dunn, he jumps in, he's sort of giving him a count, and to be fair to the referee, when he calls Petrie forward, he stumbles to the right-hand side. He doesn't walk forward in a straight line. But then straight after that,
he's fine, yeah.
After that, he does seem fine, and he's sort of... But I think it's fair to say that the stoppage, from the referee's perspective, he couldn't have let that fight go on because, Petrie didn't look in a fit state to continue.
If you call him to respond and he doesn't come forward straight, I spoke to a lot of experienced people ringside, and they all felt the referee was bang on the money with the stoppage. But personally, I wanted another 20 seconds because I'd have knocked him out cold. So, it's bittersweet for me. I wish they did let it continue. But no, like everyone said, the referee was absolutely spot on with that stoppage. Everyone except for Wesley.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you say, as a fighter, you always want to sort of say that, you were ready to continue, go out on your shield. If you get knocked out, you get knocked out. Yeah. But obviously, Petrie felt that stoppage was premature. But looking back on it, I would say that, the referee Seamus Dunn had it spot on, that he wasn't in a position that if you had continued in the same vein you had finished, there was going to be something.
Oh, I'd have took him out.
A vicious knockout.
There wasn't a doubt. Do you know what though? He was sitting there going, "I was outboxing you." It was an 81-second fight. How was he outboxing me? What? He landed a couple of good punches. You can't outbox someone and then get stopped in 81 seconds. It doesn't work like that. If he was outboxing me for 4.5 rounds and then I stopped him, I could see his argument. But he was not outboxing me in a million years. Hopefully, if he ever recovers, I will fight him again.
Well, it's definitely one for down the line. But first and foremost, let's look ahead to the replacement. Now, I know that when I spoke to you, when I obviously let you know that Petrie was out, you said, well, I need to get somebody because if I haven't got something to focus on, I then tend to sort of, go off the rails a little bit. I'm not in the gym if I've not got that focus. But what we have got for you on November the 26th now is, for me personally, a much more exciting proposition in the fact that you've got, he's a fighter who has had kickboxing experience, boxing experience. He's a professional bare knuckle fighter as well. So he comes into this contest with a pedigree of fighting. Yeah. And when I've watched the footage of him, for me, Danylo, he looks like a kind of almost a carbon copy of you in the fact that he goes for his shots. He wants to take heads off. Oh, unquestionably. I mean, no, I didn't want to say that, but but obviously he's not got the looks.
Do you know what? This is a much better fight because if I'm honest, Wesley's chin's made of glass. I'd have knocked him out in a round again, regardless. And not saying my fact, but people weren't overly excited to see me fight him again. I don't care what he says. He can't take a shot, and I'd have put him. He'd have gone. I mean, he'd have only made the second round if I'd have let him. So, but no, from what I've seen of this Danylo, and I've spoke to a couple of people, and they he's very lively. He's exciting. He doesn't take a backward step, and this fight can't help but be anything but fireworks.
So we've both seen a little bit of sparring footage of your opponent, who obviously that was sent through. But when you're entering a fight like this, I've got to say, I know that every time we've spoken, every time an opponent's been presented to you, you say the same thing. I don't care who it is, I will fight anyone. I literally will fight anyone, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So when you look at an opponent like this, like we said, we've touched on it, it will be, for me personally, a much more exciting, a much more explosive fight with somebody who's coming in there like you to try and take heads off.
Yeah.
You know, how do you sort of feel going into a fight like that?
A fight's a fight. As I said, I mean, as you just touched on, I will fight anyone, but I'm the British champion. Like, I would make a mockery of, I mean, if there's any champion that turns down fights, then they should just drop the belt straight away. But going into, do you know what, there is a different mindset. Like, I'm excited about this one. And it's no disrespect to that. I thought Wesley might be a bit cagey because he was 6 foot. I don't know how tall this fella is. He's certainly not. I think Christoph was 6'3". Wesley was 6'4". And this one, I think he must be roughly my height, 'cause I think he's coming up in weight. I'm quite excited about it because it's just going to be fun. Look, I'm going to try and box. I really am. I know people will laugh when I say that. I am actually a lot better boxer than I've seen, but I just like punching people. But I know he could draw me into a war, and then it's going to be real good fun.
Mm. I know that when I spoke to you about this, you sort of you sort of said off camera, you know, the smart thing would be to box.
Absolutely.
But I'm a fighter, and I know that when I get inside that ring and then punches start flying, everything tends to sort of change.
Do you know what? If you ask the coaches, they've seen me box on the back foot for 20 years. That's all I do in sparring, box on the back foot, and people can't touch me. But for some reason, I get in that ring, that bell goes, and I just go for them.
What is that? I mean, do you think that's a sort of... Listen, we've all got that kind of machismo where, you know, when somebody puts it on you, you feel like you've got to fight fire with fire.
It's not necessarily that, but I want to do my best chance of it. At 90 kilos, I've never met anyone stronger than me. So if I can bully them on the inside, then what's the point in fighting on the back foot? I can go in, and if I'm closer to them, the punches don't hurt as much. Like, they can't get their shots off. I'm usually small in the opponent, so I can go in, bully them, use my strength, and no complaints. It works. I've lost one fight about 12 years ago, and so it's worked for me. So I haven't changed anything. But I will. I mean, I'm not going to give me game plan. I am going to try to box back foot counter punch for the first round. For the first minute of the first round, we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, I think throughout the sort of course of boxing history, you've seen fighters who have tried to box and come unstuck and lose, and you've seen boxers who have tried to fight and equally, you know, they've come unstuck. So we've seen the explosive Danny Worsfold. We've seen the sort of the fact that in both your Quest appearances, you haven't made it into the second round because your opponents haven't been there because they've been knocked out.
Yeah.
So let's look at it. I mean, a lot of questions and people have said, you know, he's explosive, he's exciting, we love watching him, but what happens if he doesn't knock them out? So I'm sure you're training for that, but how does that fight look if you don't knock him out?
I'll win on points. Look, I believe I'm better than him in every way. I genuinely believe that. I think even if it's a dog fight, I'll still win on points. I'm naturally the bigger man. I think I could, if we were in the middle of the ring going toe to toe and we were leaning on each other, he could be absolutely exhausted at the end. So could I. But I don't. I mean, I know I say that I box 5-5, but on the first Christoph fight, for the first minute, I was standing back off him. It was only when I got, you know, when you start slipping punches and getting inside. So I could do either, but yeah, there's no doubt in my mind I'm either winning. I don't actually think I'm going to knock him out. I've seen the footage and he's a little bit wild and he does leave himself open, but he's got that little tough look about him. So I think we're in for a good 5 round. Is it 5 rounds?
5 rounds.
I think we're in for a good 5-round war. I hope so anyway, because people are complaining that I don't give them value for money because they're paying £35 a ticket for what? 70 seconds in the ring. So I hope we get a good full 5 rounds this time, and I will still win.
I've kind of got a feeling that this one is going to be an absolute barnstormer, because I know that what we've seen from you previously in Quest and what Danylo brings to the table,
Yeah.
I think that the fans are going to be in for an absolute classic when you two step through those ropes, you go eye to eye, final instructions, referee, and that first bell goes. I don't think there's going to be a moment where you're going to have to or be able to blink.
You could put it on in the phone box. It's one of them type fights. No one. It's going to be fight of the night without question. But I would also like to just thank him for stepping in, because I know 3 or 4 people said no to this fight, and after Wesley pulled out, I was starting to get a bit irritated. So, massive respect for him for stepping in and taking this, as he would do, because obviously he's a fighter. So we don't turn down fights.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of in a bit of an era where you speak to a lot of fighters. Like when you talk to these throwback fighters, when they talk about they were having a fight every sort of 3-4 weeks as a professional many years ago, but now it's like the perfect 8-week camp, the perfect nutrition, the perfect strength and conditioning, the perfect circumstances. It's some fighters need that confidence through a long camp, whereas others will just literally at the drop of a hat say, I'll fight.
There's never going to be a camp where you don't get injured in. You always, I think for the last one, Wesley, I didn't train the best. I think I'd come back from holiday, I'd got ill for 8-9 days. I think I only trained 5 times in the last 5 weeks just through holiday and illness. But I fought. Christoph, I took the fight at 2 days' notice and I hadn't trained in a few months. No worries, I'll fight. I think there's a fight of mine on YouTube. I fought the man. I had a fractured hand, and I couldn't hit pads, bags, spar for a month before the fight. And I just thought I'll be all right. I just won't use it and wait till I get in the ring, and the adrenaline will do its job, and I'll fight then. It's a common theme in all of boxing at the minute, especially unlicensed. People pulling out. It's a joke. If they all claim to be fighters, just fight. I know you've had your fair share of pullouts, last minutes, and they're all shithouses. It's embarrassment, all of them.
I think, like you say, it's within boxing, and we've seen it across every different code, whether it be amateur, whether it be sort of Quest, whether it be professional boxing. There's always injuries, pullouts, and you're on tenterhooks, both as a fighter, as a promoter, as a fan, thinking, I really hope this goes ahead. Equally, like we say, you only have to look recently at the Ben Eubank fiasco, where so many fans were invested in that fight. It was a fantastic build-up. You, as a boxing fan, you were thinking, I cannot wait to see this fight, the atmosphere, what it is going to be like when they finally step through the ropes, and to be robbed of that, it's really sort of frustrating and heartbreaking as a fan, as a fighter, promoter, whoever you are.
Especially, this isn't aimed at Wesley, because I know you said you've seen the medical thing, and he generally has, he's had an issue that means he can't fight. But there is just too many of it. And what they do, there's a lot of them, they win belts and they don't defend them. They're shithouses and all. They're all crap. So I'm here to fight anyone, anytime, any place. I've never turned down a fight. And what's this, my 3rd fight in 4 or 5 months? Mm-hmm. So you just keep lining them up, I'll keep knocking them down. And this Ukrainian, Danylo, he's going to be the next one. I respect the man, but I'm beating him.
You're coming to win.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I don't lose.
I want to quickly touch on your training, because I have to say that when I speak to your coach...
He ain't grasped me up, has he?
No, I remember speaking to him in the build-up to the Wesley Petrie fight.
Yeah.
And I sort of, I gave him a call and I said, Shane, be honest with me. I said, I've seen lots of stuff with Danny on lovely holidays, but is he training? He went, yeah, no, he is training, but, he is, he said, but for, he'll be there, don't worry. And I said, fine. And obviously we saw the result against Wesley. I
was awful in that fight, though. I really didn't box well at all. I was getting caught, but I had to say I hadn't trained properly. I have changed that for this time, though.
I was going to say, I did speak to him this time.
I know, he did tell me. Tell me you keep checking up on me.
and he did say, he said, listen, Danny's here all the time. He's putting the work in. I've told him. And to his credit, he's training harder than I've seen him train for a long, long time. So we've already seen explosive performances when you probably haven't been putting in the required work. But
or any work on some occasions.
So my question is, how good are you going to be for this fight? But also, on a percentage-wise, I mean, how much of Danny have we actually seen?
Oh, nothing. You've not seen anything at all. Listen, it's hard as well because you've only seen me in the ring for what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, both times all put together. But I've been less 20-30% for both fights. I've been dreadful. One of them I'm pretty sure I was probably hungover for. But I am training 4 or 5 days a week, twice a day on those days. I'm fit, I'm strong. I'm buzzing for this fight. And that's the first time. I'm 5 weeks out and I'm fitter than I've been for a long, 10 years. So, this will be the best you'll ever see. And that's why if he beats me, I've got absolutely no excuses whatsoever. I'm training, I'm ready. And that's the first time I can say that for a long time, yeah.
Well, I know, like I say, this is going to be a fantastic fight. This is, like we say, for me, a better fight than the Petri fight, a better fight than the fight when you fought Krzysztof Morawski. I think for the fans, this is one definitely not to be missed. But for you, predictions, you've already kind of touched on it a little bit, saying that you think this is going to be a 5-round war.
I think I'll win on points, and I think I'm going to win all 5 rounds. I'm not saying they're going to be easy. I think it'll be close rounds, but I will just have the better work in each and every round.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating fight. And as I say, it is the 2022 season finale, Saturday, November the 26th at the famous Epsom Downs racecourse in Surrey. And the champion standing in, obviously, or sitting, I should say, in front of me, Danny Worsfold, he will be taking on Danylo. I'm struggling to pronounce his name. I'm not going to lie, because it is a difficult name to pronounce. But
Hrebeniuk,
I believe.
Yes.
So apologies if I've got that wrong, Danylo. But like I say, this is going to be an absolutely cracking fight. And Danny, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, you too.
And we'll let you obviously get back to preparations. But next time we see you, it will be ringside at Epsom Downs Racecourse in Surrey. And get ready for fireworks is all I can say.
Cheers.